I feel this great sense of renaissance, no pun intended, in Detroit and in the area, and that makes me really happy. I know it's hard, it'd be a big comeback effort, but I'm so pleased to see Detroit coming back.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about that was when you graduated college, before you ended up at Microsoft, did you consider coming back to Detroit and working here?
I did, absolutely. I worked a couple of years, went back to Stanford to business school, and was trying to decide kind of what to do between summer of first year and summer of second year. And the then president of Ford, Don Peterson, had gone to Stanford Business School. So I sent him a note and said, can I talk to you over Christmas? I'm curious about the auto industry. So I was talking to him about potentially coming back to work at Ford for that summer between first and second year. And then I got a call from a buddy of mine from college, Bill Gates, and it detoured me some off of the Ford Motor Company route that I was considering.
I remembered Nancy and I had dinner with you in Los Angeles right after you took ownership of the Clippers. And it was a fascinating dinner. You talked about your goals in this next chapter of your life was one of, obviously, building a successful basketball team, but you had many other personal goals. And one of them was philanthropy. And you and Connie founded the Ballmer Group a year later, I think in 2015. Talk about that, how that came to be.
As we thought about what to do, the thing, building on what Connie had already done and my interests, there are people who have, and I'll just call it, no real shot at the American dream from the day they're born. And it's not because who they are or what their capabilities are, but by the circumstances of their birth, whether it's dysfunctional family issues or lack of good education, it's just not possible. And there's plenty of data that supports that. And that's not fair, at least in my estimation. I don't know how the world solves poverty or some of these other issues, but every kid deserves a chance. And we decided that would be what we focused in on, and that's what came under this rubric of economic mobility, which is as broad as you can think. I mean, we are a mile wide and an inch deep. We view that as our strategic value. And why philanthropy? Look, we were blessed with a lot financially. Things worked out great at Microsoft, and it would be, in a sense, irresponsible if we hadn't picked something of this ilk to go do. There's a couple new areas that we're considering, but we're anchored in this notion of giving every kid a shot.
10 years ago, we might have been hard-pressed to describe the transportation world of today. I'm not sure we understood what Lyft and Uber were going to become. I'm not sure we saw how quickly the automakers were going to try to adapt to the electrification of their fleets. Tell me a little bit about, if you close your eyes and think about what our transportation world looks like 10 years from now, what do you see?
Well, first, we should approach any predictions with a lot of humility for the reasons you just raised, right? Think about one of the lessons of Uber and Lyft. For all the transportation technology that's been developed in the last 10, 20, 30 years, the most important piece of transportation technology of the last decade isn't even a piece of transportation equipment, it's a phone, right? That's what actually changed everything from how you board an airplane to how you summon a ride. And so there's a big unknown factor about some of the changes, but there are some that we can see. Electrification is going to accelerate, and I think it's only going to become more important. The OEMs have made big bets on this, and we need to do it as a country in order to meet our climate goals and in order to make sure that American workers on American soil get the benefit of this electric revolution. And so we're investing $7.5 billion in charging stations. And we've also proposed measures to make those EVs more affordable, so the more families can realize the gas savings that come with owning one. So we know electrification is going to matter. We know automation is going to develop in some very fast-moving, well, let me put an asterisk on that. Fast-moving, but we don't know when some of the fastest movements will happen.
Yep.
Again, we need some humility here. As somebody who started following this issue as a mayor, it feels sometimes as if widespread use of automated vehicles is exactly 10 years away, and it's been exactly 10 years away for 10 years. And so, again, some humility is called for here,
Extraordinary
right?
thing that happens.
But what we do know is we need to update our regulatory frameworks to keep up. Interestingly, there's actually no federal regulation that says you have to have a driver in a car, because nobody ever thought of that. But also, if we're writing a safety standard for a driverless car, right now it says what the airbag should look like in the passenger seat and in the driver's seat. Right. So we're updating even just the language of our most basic regulations. There's a lot of interest in Congress right now on a framework for how we handle automation, not so much to create it, that's what industry's got to do. Yeah. Again, the private sector has its role, but our role is to make sure that it's safe. And by the way, the potential for safety improvements from automation is colossal in a country where human drivers are killing 40,000 people a year.
Exactly.
We should be up in arms about that.
But how will insurance work if I'm willing to turn my car over to the system? Right. Where's the liability?
That's
this is complicated.
Yes, that's one of the biggest issues that we've got to work through.